If you want to stay consistent no matter what, the first thing you must do is define a clear vision that pulls you forward. Because consistency is not something you push, it's something that pulls you. When the dream is clear enough, the journey becomes natural. When your reason is strong enough, excuses disappear. Most people fail not because they lack discipline, but because they lack a compelling vision. They have nothing strong enough to fight for. You see, the mind is a goal-seeking mechanism. It needs direction. Without a clear target, it spends its energy wandering. The tragedy is that most people are busy being busy. They wake up, rush through their day, check things off the list, but they never stop to ask busy for what? What am I actually building here? A life without vision leads to motion without meaning. You can't sustain consistency when you don't know what you're consistent about. Jim Rohn used to say, if the promise is clear, the price is easy. That's where the magic begins. When you have a vision that excites you, it changes how you wake up in the morning. You stop forcing yourself to work. You start being drawn to it. The vision becomes fuel. It gives meaning to the struggle and purpose to the pain. You begin to understand that every small step is part of a bigger picture. Every discipline is a brushstroke on the canvas of your dream. But the vision must be specific. I want success is not a vision. I want to be happy is not a vision. Those are wishes. A real vision has detail. It's not a vague hope. It's a vivid picture. It's the difference between saying, I want to travel someday, and I want to stand on the top of Mount Fuji, watch the sunrise, and feel the wind that carried the samurai. The second vision moves you because it's real. You can see it. You can feel it. You can taste it. That's what gives it emotional weight. And emotional weight is what drives consistent action. Clarity creates confidence. When your vision is clear, your decisions become simple. You stop asking, should I do this? And start saying, does this move me closer to my vision? That one question filters everything, your habits, your time, your energy, even your relationships. Suddenly, distractions lose their power and priorities become obvious. You can endure boredom, frustration, and delay because you know exactly what you're working toward. That's what separates those who endure from those who quit. The clarity of the outcome. And remember, your vision isn't carved in stone. It evolves as you grow. At first, your goal may be survival, then stability, then significance. That's natural. The purpose of vision isn't to trap you. It's to guide you. It's a living thing. But the danger is drifting. If you don't consciously renew your vision, life will quietly hand you one that belongs to someone else. You'll start chasing goals that don't excite you, working jobs that drain you, and living by standards you never chose. So every once in a while, step back and ask, is the picture still mine? Or have I started painting someone else's dream? One of the best exercises you can do is to write your vision in present tense, as if it's already real. Describe your ideal day, your relationships, your contribution, your sense of peace. The more you describe it, the more it imprints itself in your subconscious. You begin to act in alignment with that future version of yourself. Your habits, your words, your attitude, they all start to match the picture you're holding in your mind. That's not magic, that's psychology. The mind always moves toward the image it believes to be true. That's why people who lack vision feel tired all the time. They're running without a direction. They're working hard, but going nowhere. But those who have a vision, they can endure storms, setbacks, even seasons of doubt, because they're anchored to something larger than their emotions. Vision gives you a reason to be consistent even when motivation disappears. You won't always feel inspired. You won't always feel strong. But if the picture in your mind is powerful enough, you'll keep walking. Think about it, a person with a weak purpose will be defeated by a single setback. But a person with a strong purpose can face years of challenge and still rise stronger. The power isn't in the obstacle. It's in the reason. If your why is strong enough, the how reveals itself. That's the real secret to consistency. So if you want to stay consistent no matter what, don't start with discipline, start with vision. Don't focus on forcing habits. Focus on defining a future so inspiring that you can't help but move toward it. Because once you see it clearly, once you believe it deeply, once it becomes real in your mind, staying consistent stops feeling like a burden. It becomes your natural state. And that's when life begins to change, when your vision pulls you harder than your excuses push you. Variant, standard, title. Expand key point. Build routines that serve your purpose. Again, 840 WFD. Once you've defined a clear vision that pulls you forward, the next step is to build routines that serve that purpose. Vision gives you direction, but routine gives you movement. It's what turns dreams into daily practice. You can't reach a meaningful destination through inspiration alone. You get there through structure, discipline, and rhythm. Jim Rohn used to say, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. That bridge is built out of your daily habits. Most people overestimate the power of motivation and underestimate the power of routine. Motivation is emotional. It's high one day and gone the next. Routine is structural. It doesn't depend on how you feel. It's there waiting for you each morning like a reliable friend. The truth is, success doesn't come from doing extraordinary things occasionally. It comes from doing ordinary things consistently. A routine is how you automate excellence. It's how you make discipline easier by removing the need for constant decision-making. Let's be honest, it's not that people can't stay consistent. It's that their days aren't designed for consistency. If you wake up and hope the day goes right, you've already surrendered control. Hope is not a strategy. Success belongs to those who design their days intentionally. You don't need to control every minute, but you must control the direction. Have certain pillars in your day that never change. The morning routine that grounds you, the work habits that move your goals forward, and the evening rituals that reset your focus. Those anchors create stability in an unstable world. And here's the psychology behind it. The brain loves patterns. It finds safety in predictability. When you repeat a behavior long enough, it stops requiring conscious effort. It becomes identity. That's why routine is so powerful. It trains the mind to act without debate. You don't argue with yourself about whether to brush your teeth. You just do it. That's the same place you want your key disciplines to live. When consistency becomes part of who you are, not just what you do, that's when success becomes inevitable. But a routine isn't just about what you do. It's about what you don't do. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something vital. One of the great acts of discipline is elimination. Ask yourself daily, does this habit serve my vision or does it steal from it? If it steals, remove it. Don't negotiate with distractions. Design them out of your life. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your systems. So build systems that make the right thing easy and the wrong thing hard. Routines also protect you from emotional drift. There will be days when you don't feel like showing up. That's where your structure saves you. When the routine is stronger than the mood, you win. When the habit runs deeper than the doubt, you move forward. Jim Rohn often reminded us, we must all suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Routine allows you to choose the lighter pain, the one that leads to progress. It transforms consistency from an act of willpower into a rhythm of life. However, don't confuse rigidity with discipline. The purpose of a routine is to serve your vision, not to impress you. A good routine is flexible. It adapts to the seasons of your life. It's not about perfection, it's about alignment. The point is not to do everything, but to do the right things regularly. Your routine should support your energy, not drain it. It should make your life simpler, not heavier. The right routine creates freedom because it removes decision fatigue. It gives you more mental space to focus on what truly matters. And remember, your routine is always teaching you something about yourself. If you skip the things that matter, it's a signal. It means your routine and your priorities are out of sync. Use that awareness to adjust, not to judge. Build your days as an architect builds a structure, deliberately with vision in mind. Lay one brick, then another, and soon the habit becomes the home that shelters your future. Every great achiever you admire, from athletes to artists to entrepreneurs, has one thing in common: they've mastered their routine. They know that excellence is not an act, but a habit repeated in quiet hours when no one is watching. That's how consistency is built, not through passion alone, but through the discipline of daily practice. So, if your vision is the destination, your routine is the vehicle. Treat it with respect, maintain it, refuel it with purpose. Because when your routines are aligned with your vision, progress is no longer a mystery, it's a guarantee. And that's the real secret. Consistency isn't hard when your days are designed for it. Build the right routine, and success becomes not a question of if, but when. Before you manage your schedule, you must learn to manage your mindset. Because no matter how perfectly structured your day is, if your thinking is scattered, your actions will be too. You can have the best plans, the best tools, the best intentions. But if your mental state is filled with fear, doubt, and distraction, none of it will last. Consistency is not a time management issue. It's a mind management issue. Jim Rohn used to say, you cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. That direction starts in the mind. Think of your mindset as the foundation of your consistency. If the foundation is weak, the structure will always collapse under pressure. Every time you fall off track, it's not because the plan was wrong, it's because the state of mind wasn't prepared to sustain it. That's why personal development must always precede professional development. The inner world creates the outer results. What you think, you become; what you believe, you act upon. The average person spends their life reacting to circumstances rather than creating them. They let their mood dictate their movement. If they feel good, they do the work. If they don't, they wait for inspiration. But the consistent performer operates differently. They don't depend on feelings. They depend on philosophy. They build their life around principles, not emotions. That's why Rohn said, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Because when you become better inside, everything outside becomes manageable. The mind is the battlefield where consistency is won or lost. Most people lose before they even begin because their self-talk is their greatest enemy. They wake up and tell themselves stories of limitation. I'm not ready. I'm too tired. It's too late. And what happens? The mind obeys. Whatever story you repeat becomes your reality. To stay consistent, you must rewrite that inner script. When you wake up, speak to yourself with direction, not doubt. Instead of asking, can I do this? Start saying, this is who I am. The brain responds to identity far more powerfully than to goals. You can't manage what you don't observe. That's why self-awareness is essential. Notice your patterns. What triggers your distraction? What drains your energy? What thoughts cause hesitation? Most people don't fail from lack of effort. They fail from lack of attention to the inner noise. The moment you catch yourself drifting, pause, breathe, and reset. Mindset mastery is not about controlling every thought. It's about not letting every thought control you. And here's a truth few realize: consistency doesn't require constant positivity. It requires emotional stability. You don't have to be happy every day to keep going. You just have to keep going regardless of how you feel. It's not about avoiding negative emotions, but about managing them intelligently. The consistent person says, I may not feel motivated, but I'll act with discipline anyway. That's what separates professionals from amateurs. Amateurs wait for inspiration. Professionals act on commitment. There's also a deeper philosophical layer here. Your mindset determines how you interpret the struggle. If you see challenges as punishment, you'll resist them. But if you see them as training, you'll welcome them. Rohn said, don't ask for less problems, ask for more wisdom. A growth mindset transforms obstacles into opportunities. Every setback becomes a classroom, every failure a lesson. The moment you shift from frustration to fascination, your consistency strengthens, because learning keeps you engaged where quitting would have ended the story. But remember, mindset is not something you set and forget. It must be renewed daily. The same way your body needs food, your mind needs nourishment. Read, listen, reflect. Feed your mind with ideas that expand you, not opinions that limit you. Guard your mental diet as carefully as you guard your physical one. Because whatever you consume, through books, people, or media, shapes the thoughts you think, and the thoughts you think shape the actions you take. One powerful exercise Rohn often recommended was reflection. At the end of each day, take 5 minutes to review. Ask, what did I do well today? What could I do better tomorrow? That small habit trains your mind to stay conscious of growth. Reflection turns experience into insight, and insight turns repetition into mastery. Without reflection, your days blur together. With it, every day becomes a building block toward a stronger, wiser version of you. So manage your mindset before you manage your time, because no calendar app can fix a negative attitude, and no productivity hack can overcome a defeated spirit. Consistency begins with belief. Belief that your actions matter, that progress is possible, and that you are capable of more than your current results. Once you truly believe that, everything else aligns. Your schedule, your habits, your results. In the end, it's simple. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your mindset. The mind leads, the actions follow. So, master your inner world, and consistency will no longer be a struggle. It will be your natural way of life. Variant, standard, title. Expand key point 40. Embrace the boring and the repetitive. 8-4 to 5. One of the greatest secrets to staying consistent, one that almost no one talks about, is learning to embrace the boring and the repetitive. Everyone loves excitement. Everyone wants passion and novelty. But success is not built in moments of excitement. It's built in hours of repetition. It's not glamorous, it's not thrilling, and it's not always fun, but it's where greatness hides. Jim Rohn said, success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. And those fundamentals, they are almost always repetitive. The truth is, most people quit not because they can't do the work, but because they get bored doing it. They confuse excitement with progress. They think if it doesn't feel new, it's not valuable. But the masters, the athletes, the artists, the thinkers, they understand that repetition is the road to refinement. Doing something once makes it familiar. Doing it 1,000 times makes it part of who you are. That's what consistency really means. Staying faithful to the basics long after the mood of motivation has disappeared. There's a certain discipline required to keep showing up for the same task, day after day, with the same level of commitment. It demands humility. It demands patience, because repetition doesn't always give you instant rewards. You can work for weeks, months, sometimes years without seeing visible progress. But that's the paradox. Progress often hides beneath the surface, growing quietly while you keep watering the soil. Most people stop watering too soon. They give up because they can't yet see the fruit of their effort. But if they had stayed a little longer, the roots they built in silence would have produced strength they could rely on for a lifetime. Consistency is like compound interest. The small, boring things you do daily may not look impressive in isolation, but they multiply over time. The real danger lies in underestimating their power. Missing one workout doesn't ruin your fitness. Skipping one day of reading doesn't destroy your growth. But the habit of inconsistency, the belief that small actions don't matter, that's what kills momentum. Because every missed action makes it easier to skip the next one. Every compromise becomes a seed for future excuses. The great irony is that people are chasing big change while ignoring the small acts that create it. To embrace the boring, you must first reframe how you see it. Repetition is not punishment. It's practice. It's the space where skill matures and character strengthens. When you lift the same weight, write the same words, make the same calls, or practice the same skill, you're not repeating failure. You're refining excellence. The difference between the average and the exceptional is not talent, it's tolerance. The exceptional tolerate boredom long enough to reach mastery. Now, let's talk psychology. The brain craves novelty because it releases dopamine. It feels good to do something new. But when you train yourself to find satisfaction in repetition, you shift from external stimulation to internal fulfillment. You no longer need excitement to feel engaged. You find meaning in growth itself. That's a higher form of discipline, one that separates the short-term doer from the long-term achiever. You stop chasing the feeling and start committing to the process. Rohn often said, "Don't be casual in your habits. Casualness leads to casualties." That statement is both practical and profound. It means if you treat your daily disciplines lightly, they'll eventually fail you when you need them most. The boring routines, the reading, the journaling, the exercising, the practicing, these are your preparation. They build invisible muscles of discipline. And when life tests you, and it will, you'll draw on that strength you've built quietly through repetition. But here's the key: embracing the boring doesn't mean you have to live a dull life. It means you learn to find depth in simplicity. It means you learn to appreciate the subtle signs of progress. The small improvements, the smoother rhythm, the clearer mind. Consistency transforms repetition from drudgery into mastery. The very act that once felt monotonous becomes a meditation. The practice becomes peace. Because you begin to realize that success isn't found in doing something new. It's found in doing something well. Think of a musician practicing scales. At first, it's tedious, mechanical. But over time, those scales turn into art. The same notes that once bored them become the foundation for brilliance. That's how life works. The routine becomes the rhythm. The discipline becomes the expression. You can't skip that stage. The path to mastery always goes through monotony. So don't run from the boring. Don't look for shortcuts or hacks. Instead, see repetition as your ally. It's the quiet force that molds you when no one's watching. It's the hidden grind that builds confidence, competence, and credibility. Because one day, while others are still searching for motivation, you'll have something stronger. You'll have mastery. And mastery is born not in moments of inspiration, but in seasons of repetition. So when it feels boring, keep going. When it feels repetitive, smile, because that's the sign you're getting closer to excellence. Consistency begins the day you stop chasing excitement and start honoring repetition. A variant. Standard? Title? Expand key point 5. Surround yourself with accountability and growth. Add your Nate Fortising Steve. If you want to stay consistent no matter what, you must surround yourself with accountability and growth. Because no one climbs alone. No one sustains greatness in isolation. You can have all the motivation in the world, all the plans and the passion, but if your environment doesn't support your purpose, eventually it will suffocate it. Jim Rohn said it best. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's not just a quote, it's a psychological law. Environment is stronger than willpower. Look closely at your circle. The people around you are either your reminders or your reasons. They either remind you of your discipline or give you reasons to forget it. They either pull you higher or drain your energy. Consistency doesn't live in isolation. It lives in environments designed to protect it. You can't grow in a space where growth isn't valued. You can't maintain standards in a circle where mediocrity is normal. If you want to be consistent, surround yourself with people who make consistency a way of life. Now, accountability isn't about control. It's about clarity. It's about having someone who helps you see what you can't see when your emotions blur your vision. We all have blind spots, and consistency requires honesty. Accountability is a mirror. It reflects the truth you might be avoiding. It doesn't judge you, it guides you. When you know someone is watching, when someone expects more from you, you automatically perform at a higher level. Not out of fear, but out of respect for your own potential. Think of athletes, entrepreneurs, or artists. None of them rely solely on personal motivation. They have coaches, mentors, or peers who hold them to their best standard. Not because they're weak, but because they understand that self-discipline grows stronger when shared. Accountability creates structure around ambition. It transforms good intentions into consistent action. When you tell someone your goal and they expect a result, It stops being a wish and starts becoming a commitment. But your environment is more than just people. It's habits, spaces, and influences. If your workspace is chaotic, your mind will be too. If your environment is filled with distraction, your focus will fragment. Your physical surroundings are a reflection of your internal discipline. That's why Rohn often reminded his audience to take care of your environment, clean your space, organize your tools, design your atmosphere for excellence. A chaotic room breeds a chaotic mind. A structured environment reinforces structured thought. There's also the power of shared energy. When you're around people who are striving for something, who talk about growth, discipline, and progress, it naturally elevates your own state of mind. We absorb the emotional tone of the company we keep. Spend enough time with negative, complacent, or unfocused people, and you'll start borrowing their excuses. Spend time with ambitious, curious, and disciplined people, and you'll start borrowing their habits. Energy is contagious. Choose your infections wisely. The most successful people in any field don't just look for friends. They look for standards. They build circles that challenge them. They understand that comfort destroys consistency. Growth lives in tension, the tension between where you are and where you could be. And accountability is that tension made visible. A true friend doesn't just cheer you up, they call you out. They remind you who you said you wanted to become. They pull you back when you drift too far from your values. But remember, growth-oriented relationships are not one-sided. Accountability is a two-way street. Be the person who also holds others to higher standards. Encourage, challenge, and support them. Because the more you give growth, the more it grows in you. That's how healthy communities are built, through mutual elevation. A rising tide lifts all boats, and when you help others rise, your consistency becomes anchored in purpose, not just performance. If you want to see your consistency multiply, create layers of accountability. Join a mastermind, hire a coach, form a small group of trusted peers, or even use technology, habit trackers, progress logs, or public commitments. These are external reminders of your internal promise. They turn private intention into public accountability, because when you make your commitment visible, you naturally become more consistent. At the same time, protect your growth. Be intentional about who has access to your energy. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Some people bring chaos disguised as friendship and comfort disguised as care. Learn to love people without letting their limitations limit you. You can be kind without being careless with your time. Protect your standards as if your future depends on them, because it does. And here's the truth, the greatest accountability partner you'll ever have is your future self. Every decision you make today is a conversation with the person you're becoming. Ask yourself, would my future self thank me for this choice? If the answer is yes, you're on the right path. If it's no, it's time to adjust, because consistency isn't about perfection. It's about honoring your potential every single day. So surround yourself with accountability and growth. Build an environment that lifts you when motivation fades. Spend time with people who remind you of your highest standards, not your weakest excuses. Let your circle sharpen you. Let your surroundings shape you. And let your accountability strengthen you. Because in the end, no one succeeds alone. We rise higher together, or we sink quietly apart. Choose your company wisely, and consistency will never be a struggle. It will be a shared strength. Variant, standard, title, expand key, point 60. Reward progress, not just perfection. Ed 849. One of the final and most overlooked secrets to staying consistent is learning to reward progress, not just perfection. Because perfection is a trap. It keeps you stuck in hesitation, waiting for everything to be just right before you move. Progress, on the other hand, is motion. It's movement toward your vision, however small. Jim Rohn once said, "Success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day. But those disciplines only survive when you learn to celebrate their presence, not punish their imperfection." Most people sabotage their consistency because they believe every step must be flawless. The moment they miss a day, make a mistake, or fall short, they declare failure. That mindset destroys momentum. You don't have to be perfect to be consistent. You just have to keep coming back. True consistency is not about never falling. It's about shortening the time between falling and standing again. The faster you return, the stronger you become. Progress gives you feedback. Perfection gives you frustration. Progress says, look how far you've come. Perfection says, you're still not there. One fuels hope, the other drains it. And the human spirit needs hope to stay in motion. That's why rewarding progress is not self-indulgence. It's strategy. It keeps the mind encouraged, the spirit engaged, and the habits alive. Small wins are emotional fuel. They keep the fire of discipline burning when motivation fades. You see, the brain loves closure. It's wired to seek completion. When you acknowledge progress, even tiny victories, it releases dopamine, the chemical of satisfaction and reward. That's how you turn repetition into enjoyment and consistency into pleasure. You train your mind to associate discipline with reward instead of deprivation. Over time, your habits become self-sustaining because they feel good to maintain. You're no longer chasing success through pressure. You're attracting it through appreciation. Rohn often emphasized reflection and gratitude as tools for growth. He believed in the power of taking time to recognize achievement, no matter how modest. Learn to be thankful for what you already have while you pursue all that you want. That's not just philosophy, it's psychology. Gratitude grounds progress. When you stop to appreciate your effort, you strengthen your identity as someone who follows through. You stop seeing discipline as a burden and start seeing it as part of who you are. Perfectionists, on the other hand, burn out quickly. They operate from fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. And fear cannot sustain consistency. It exhausts you. But progress-oriented people operate from faith. They trust that consistent effort compounds over time. They understand that mastery isn't measured by how perfect you perform, but by how persistently you return. They live by the simple but powerful philosophy, better every day. Here's the truth: life is not a straight line. There will be seasons of acceleration and seasons of rest. There will be times when you feel unstoppable and times when you feel uncertain. The key is to keep the rhythm. Reward yourself for the effort, not just the outcome. If you read 1 page instead of 10, celebrate that you showed up. If you trained for 20 minutes instead of an hour, celebrate that you moved your body. If you fell short today, celebrate that you're willing to start again tomorrow. The habit of returning is more valuable than the illusion of perfection. You can even build a simple system of acknowledgement. Keep a progress journal. Each night, write down one thing you did well that day. It doesn't have to be monumental. It could be a conversation you handled better, a decision you delayed that you finally made, or simply keeping your word to yourself. This quiet recognition builds self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of self-discipline. You can't be consistent in something you secretly resent yourself for doing. And remember, progress is deeply personal. Don't compare your pace with anyone else's. Comparison kills consistency because it shifts your focus from growth to competition. Someone else's timeline has nothing to do with yours. The only race worth running is the one between who you were yesterday and who you're becoming today. Measure that distance honestly, and you'll find motivation that lasts far longer than external validation ever could. Rewarding progress also means forgiving mistakes quickly. When you slip, don't spiral into guilt. Analyze, adjust, and advance. Every misstep carries a message. It shows you what still needs refinement. The point of discipline isn't punishment, it's awareness. Progress means you're learning. Perfection means you're stuck. Choose growth over guilt every time. When you learn to celebrate small victories, you transform consistency from a grind into a game. You start to look forward to progress instead of fearing imperfection. You develop emotional resilience because your self-worth is no longer tied to flawless performance. It's tied to continuous improvement. That's the essence of mastery: steady motion toward excellence, guided by patience and gratitude. So reward progress, celebrate every small step, appreciate every return, because the person who keeps going, even imperfectly, will always outrun the one who waits to begin perfectly. In the end, staying consistent isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent.